is never too much. Because we're speaking about
there's a French saying, 100 times go back onto your work.
Okay. Review what you did.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Word makif means surrounding. Surrounding in our personal orientation. Could be easily misunderstood. And sense that this which is surrounding is, as we said the other day, only a facilitator. Like we say in our introduction, you have a table and a chair. What you're using is a table and a chair. The fact that the table and chair is surrounded by walls of the house is not something that you're actually experiencing or working with. The truth, however, is that it is of great effect. What's the matter with Ben? Encompassment has a very profound effect. It identifies that which you do as having a true basis, a true place for its activity. What is the meaning of a true basis and a true place? So as always, we give a demonstration from a marshal, something which we all readily understand. A room in a house or even more specifically, a dining room in a house does not become a dining room after you put a dining room table therein. Its very position in the house, the place where it is and in the design already identifies fully that this is a dining room. And if you put the dining room table in a room that is not suited, does not have the dining room in concept, principle, it will be out of place. Of course, you can put it there, but it will be out of place. It will not really join in and jive with the surrounding thing. What is, in fact, so important? This joining with the makif, with the surrounding. You're sitting at a table, you're using a table. Why is it so important that this table should fit with the surrounding? And the answer to this question is something which we have to, it's very human, we have to think into it. It is no question and answer per se. The answer to it is a deep human concept. In principle, the human being was put into the world by the Mebashin himself. And the Rebbe says, I created the earth and I put human being there. In other words, the Rebbe joins the human being with the world. So that the human being should recognize that this world is actually created for him. It is his world to purify and to elevate. He's not a stranger to it. Conceptualized, this world is conceptualized as a place to host the human being. Just as in our own homes, we have different rooms, you have dining rooms, and so forth. Every room is pre-conceptualized for the function that it is going to be used. This pre-conceptualization is very important to have the sense that you are where you belong. You're not acting inconsistently with the environment. What's also significant of the sense you are where you belong? Okay, here is an important point which I don't think we touched upon the other day. The truth is that whatever we do, the action itself is preconceived at a higher level. This preconception at a higher level connects the action to the higher level. This connection gives this action of a different level of importance, different level of significance. It is not an action that is definable within worldly confines. It is something which is conceptualized at a much higher level. As we say all the time, that even though the human being acts with his hand and his feet, these actions of the hands and the feet begin at a much higher level. They start in the emotional level. And that starts at the seichel level. And that begins from Rotzen and Oinek. Rotzen and Oinek. Also, nononic means that the environment is fully coordinated with what the human being is. Why is the environment fully coordinated with what the human being is? Who coordinates it? The Creator himself. As we quoted very many times this posuk. The Rebbe says, I made the earth, and on this earth I created human being. In other words, these are things which the Rebbe created, and the one fits and complements the other. This is why the human being feels, at least is capable of feeling, perfectly comfortable in the world and doing all the things that he needs to do in the world. To do a mitzvah, to keep things in order, all that is very well matched with the human presence in the world. And thereby, it is possible for the human being, and being sensitive, to sense the divine presence at every moment in his life, no matter what he's doing. So that when he picks up a crumb of food and makes a bracha, the bracha is not out of context with his activity, with his world, with his environment. Makes perfect good sense. This food, even though it's right in front of him, is actually the Mebesh's food, and he's saying Mebesh's. He is acknowledging the Mebesh's presentation, that he created this food. Thereby, with this recognition, we can live not in the world environment, but in the divine reality. Whatever we do, we're always in the divine environment, presentation, even though we act physically. But this physicality itself is a divine creation. And it represents a divine spirit and divine principle. This is the pshat makif. The makif is a higher level than what we actually, so to speak, act with and use physically. But this higher level is not remote and not unrelated to what we're doing. It is a facilitator. It makes what we do in place comfortable, that what we do fits into the environment. This is the makif. And as we explained, and this is going to be somewhat repetitions here, very briefly, that in fact, makif is felt in the world. Even though in the world we are acting on a worldly level, but we constantly conscious, we constantly experience the spirit that created this. This spirit that created it is felt in the world. The Rebbe says, now this goes all the way up to the point of Odom Kadmon, of the preconceived level of the creation.
You better away from that.
High up, we actually relate to in our activity, in our daily activity, even eating and drinking, certainly when it comes to doing a mitzvah and so forth. In the neshama is the highest that the Rebbe should put in every human being. Even though this is a divine highest, but it's a divine highest brought down to the worldly level. And that's why the neshama is capable of orienting itself in the world. Put it down all the way clearly. This is why we, with our seichel, and as mentioned many times, seichel is really a neshama thing. Seichel is not something that we learn by trial and error. Seichel is that which we recognize as the correct thing, the correct way to behave. We recognize that we are in a world and that there is a right and a wrong way to behave in this world. Not because it will affect us in a negative way, but because the environment itself so demands. We have a sense of respect for the environment itself. And that respect for the environment is actually sensed in our intelligence, in our seichel, and in our neshamas. We can hard back there.
Can you tell me what you have?
What we discussed thus far the principle that in the world there is the effect, even the world is factual entities, there's the effect of a maki. There's always a sense of what the environment in which it comes. Now, always summer day. Behold, this entire discussion that preceded to talk about the effect of Rotzi, the effect of Ahava, where there is the effect of the Maki. However, who the Maki the Ak, it is the Maki of the level called Odom Kadmon. Odom Kadmon is definitely Kadmon. Kadmon means preceding the creation. And therefore, because it's Kadmon, it's called Maki. But it's also called Odom. Therefore, even though it's Maki, the Mikom Mokot, that yet still, even though it's a Maki, it's Odom Kadmon. It's a Kadmon that provides for a structured world. But this Maki has a relationship. There's a relationship to world, which means that we can identify worldly structure from the perspective of this Maki. Again, as we have discussed it in the Sholem, you have a room in a house, and the room is like a market, it's 4 walls. The room already speaks of the furniture that we're going to. So it's a market that already has a design on internal design. There's a shachas of oil. It relates to a functional level. So this market of Inkad, although it relates to world, even though it is a market which is distant from the practical world aspect, nonetheless, it can relate to world. The second line, they are saying because it can relate to world, and this can be drawn either ha'ora, some kind of illumination, begin in a conceptualized and identifiable manner in the neshama is a neshama. Because neshama is, although neshama is also ruchnius and so forth, neshama consists of 10 koiches. Neshamas have an order of thought, starting from Chochmah, Bina, Das, and so forth. There's an orderly process in neshama. Therefore, the neshamas, in order for the neshamas to be to appreciate what they have, that which is given to them has to be something that can relate to an orderly thought process. Orderly thought process. This is in the realm of world. This is why, since this or a market, it's a market, there's a shach of the world. This is why the oil coming from Adam Kadmon can be effective, can be understood and related to by neshama. This is what we started off way before. We said this it's called the lower Tehira, the whole level of Tehira. The word Tehira means purity. Purity is inferring and referencing a reality that is not limited by presentation. You present one thing at a time. Purity means you present the entire reality with all its content in a perfectly smooth and pure manner. Where you do not even recognize that what you're looking at it consists of many different pieces. All the pieces are joined together in a very smooth and a pure manner. So that what you see is one reality. This is why it's called Tehillah. That its structure, its content is so well matched, so well merged with one another that you don't sense that there are many pieces. It's one reality. Although in fact, it encompasses the whole reality of the world. And this is the supreme gift aspect in this matter. That on the one hand, It's a maki, all-encompassing. On the other hand, it's also to be identified from inside, internally, as to what is contained in it. And being that it can be identified as its content, this is why the Nishamas are able to relate to the process. But Nishamas take things to the corpus of Rotzen and Noineg and Seichel and Nidus. Therefore, there has to be an identifiable, a day 11 identifiable content. This identifiable content, is saying, is both. On the one hand, it is a maki. On the other hand, it's a maki that recognizes that there is world therein. Takos of Hoylom. This is why the shamans that take things to the Korkas and ethics of talking Dino can relate to. This is called Tehiru Tato, the lower Tehiru. And we said already before, Tehiru, what Tehiru means purity. The principle of the word purity means that you do not see the structure, how the individual pieces are joined together. There are no individual pieces. Everything within is joined as one unit. Okay? This market, the Ark, the Rebbe said, has a shaykhus to work. Can relate to what. What is the meaning it can relate to world? The meaning of relate to world is that it is possible to draw from this market specific aspects that can be drawn into world and understood from a worldly standpoint. Now we have to identify what is a worldly standpoint. The principle is called oilomis, world. The principle of world is that whatever you're looking at is a created entity. It is not, you're not looking at something that is true in and of itself. It was brought into existence, it was made. This is what world is. Once you speak about something that's being made, that has been made, no matter how extended that which was made is, how extended it is, how much detail it has, how much it contains, and so forth, it still consists of detailed pieces from which it is put together. Like a house, for example. A house is one big structure. It could be as big as the Empire State Building. And it's made of floor of so many pieces of material and so forth. No matter how well put together it is, and how unified all the pieces are, every piece is put together from individual pieces. This is what created entity is. Created entities consist of all the material from which it was made. Even though the pieces in the material have been so perfectly joined that you don't even think in terms of being from different pieces. But that, in fact, is what it is. This is the short world. World means something that is, yes, structured, something that is whole, but its wholeness is a superficial wholeness. It's a wholeness on the worldly level, not on the fundamental level. It's a wholeness that was made to join rather than initially join one. This is what world is. And being that this matter already relates and can identify the pieces from which it is put together. Al-Kain, second line, this is why from this can come a ha'ora, a reflection, an illumination in the shaman's begilut. Begilut means that the shamans can actually identify. Because the shamans can identify things through the koichas of seichel and midas, which need specific specific means of which we identify. Okay. Now that we have concluded this, now we're going in a totally different realm. Avo, but bechinas tehiru ilo, not bechina which is called tehiru ilo. The higher tehiru, the higher purity. Again, purity means that which is purely one. The high purity does not have a worldly orientation at all. You can't even tell that there are individual pieces from which it is put together and joined. Shezeo bechinas hayigo hagod. This hidden long. This is the bechina. This is the aspect. What's called the Yigul HaGodol, the great encirclement, Shilifnei HaKal, that is actually before the Kal. Now we have to remind ourselves a little bit. Kav means a line. The line infers that you have identified individual levels, and each level is presented by itself. One dot below the other and above the other. Each dot is an entity unto itself. That's what I count. So Kav is something which really has a world level of identity. It has different points, like we identify things in the world. Yigul HaGod, the great encirclement that precedes the Kav. So this Yigul HaGod that precedes the Kav is not an ego, it's not an encirclement that is meant to encircle something inside. Each thing needs to present the higher reality itself, not how it affects the world, but the supreme reality itself as it is higher than world. That doesn't consist of details. And now we have to stop for a moment. When you say it doesn't consist of details, what then does it represent? And the answer is, it represents all the things that can be presented in details from a perspective higher than detail. I have to try somehow giving some kind of a relationship to this. Really, this is higher than world, so we cannot identify it fully. But at least we can bring out something that alludes to it. The means by which we can approach this and present it to ourselves is from identifying within ourselves the different levels within ourselves. Normally we speak by a human being of starting on seichel and midas and machshava dibur u'ma'isa. The truth is, however, that a human being really, the spirited human being begins higher than seichel, higher than even chokhmah. Chokhmah is already the means by which you bring the human being into the world. But the truth that the human being perceives, that which gives him a spirit to be, which is higher than chokhmah, which is not a world level orientation. The great human sense of being is not from his experience, not even from his experience in seichel and midas or chokhmah. The great human orientation, that what kind of elevates him, giving a sense of of reality is not even himself. It is from his creator. That he's a creation from the Eibusher. Let's understand what that means. It's a creation from the Eibusher means that he was preconceptualized by the Eibusher in his wholeness. His real presence is the way it is conceptualized by the Eibusher, not the way it materializes in the world. It appears in the world is only to enable it to be in the world. But what is the reality of this human being? It is the Eibusher conceptual. As mentioned all the time, the Pasuk says, the Rebbe says, let us make man in our form, in our likeness. Which means that this man is a creation, but he has something that is reflective of the Rebbe himself, which is not a created entity. So the Rebbe has created a human being in the world at a level that is higher than creation. This is what a human being is. The way the Rebbe perceives the human being, the original intent and source of the human creation is not war at all. It's American was saying, make man reflective of the Rebbe himself. So that this man, even though it's a creation, but he will have the sense and the recognition of that which is higher than creation. He will be able to speak of the Rebbe directly.
He'll have a sense of what? You said of mission?
Higher than creation.
But the word you used was mission?
What?
You said he will have a sense of mission?
No, that which is higher than creation.
That which is, okay.
Time check 10-2.
All right.
Can I continue with a question?
Let me just put in a nutshell, a summary where you're at. Either you know that which is not part of the creation itself. This is the Ilagog, this is Elokus itself. And yet, the human being has the capacity to relate and to recognize the truth as it is at the theory of our level. So this is what we started, and we will continue. The important thing that we broke through over here is that yes, the human being is capable of relating and speaking about okay, yes. All right, gentlemen.
Good morning, Rabbi Paltiel.
Good morning, Ricky.
Okay, so my question, as usual, is a klutz kasha. This Igul HaGadol it's before it's coming before the kav. It's not unlike Adam Kadmon relating to what everything that is surrounded by it. It's above all that. So just in terms of tzimtzum, how is it relating to the Oyer Ein Sof, this Eagle HaGadol? Where is it in relation to the Oyer Ein Sof?
Okay. Raise the question again, please. I was trying to refresh my mind. Yeah.
Okay. We're saying that the Eagle HaGadol is higher than the Kav, and it's not like the Kav. It's not presenting things in an order. It's all encompassing. Where is it in relation to the Tzimtzum and to Oyer Ein Sof Lifnei HaTzimtzum?
Okay. So the Rebbe says clearly in the third line, Eagle HaGadol is also after the tzimtzum. And this is the challenging point over here. I don't know if we can ever get over this challenge, but this is a challenging thing. On the one hand, it's a makif for oilers after the tzimtzum, but he has no shachas to work. How is it a makif to world and he has no shachas to work? In what way is it a makif to world if it does not relate to work? This is something which is I'm going to be discussed when we get deeper into this. But clearly, the Rebbe himself states it here in one sentence, in one breath, two contradictory things. Matir le'elam es achar ha'tzimtzum, and ein le'shachar le'elam. Okay. So you had a question, Baruch? I'm sorry.
No, you just answered it. That was my question. Where is it in the scope of things? The answer is it's Acher HaTzimtzum.
That's right. It's after the tzimtzum, and yet,
yeah,
it's after the tzimtzum. Why is it not related to work?
Right.
I understood how it was explained today that the Shaykh's Loimus means that it doesn't come into a Pneumius. It still remains a Makif, meaning to say it gives significance, but significance is not something you take in a Pneumius.
Say again. What did you say? There's no word pneumius in his whole presentation so far.
This is how I understood it with the Mashalom, which was given about a Makif, and you still don't experience it.
Now what?
This is how I understood it from how it was explained today. A Makif, it gives the significance, the meaning, but you don't experience it. So I understood it as meaning that you don't take it in as a Pneumius.
Oh, so you're paraphrasing this, okay. Okay. All right, so I know exactly where you're coming from.
Could you explain to the rest of us where he's coming from?
So, Yigul HaGodol, the Rebbe says, is Lifnei HaKav. We cannot lose the words from Ramayana. It's Lifnei HaKav, before the Kav. Before the Kav means that this is not something that is nimshach, comes down piecemeal to the world. It is encompasses the entire in reality in a makif level. And here's what Rebbe is challenging us to understand. On the one hand, this is a makif that encompasses the entire world, the entire world in reality. And yet, it has no shachas alone. In what way is it makif to Olam is if it has no shachas to Olam? This is the beginning of an union that is clearly, so to speak, completely self-contradictory. It's makif Olam is after the tzimtzum, but ain't no shachas Olam. In what way is it makif Olam is if he has no shachas Olam? So this is what is going to be discussed. As a matter of fact, if you can so speak in terms of fact, this whole phenomenon, makif Olam and no shachas Olam, is something which occurs, which comes out from the different interactions of the various oiras that come into work. This is not a illumination from above. Just to give us a little bit of a introduction to the union, on a quick, we don't have time. The way we learn anything, Chiddush, Nigla, whatever we learn, inevitably, there's a process of learning. One of the principal processes of learning is that there's a question and an answer. Learning does not consist of a smooth flow in one direction. Learning consists of going in one direction and then stopping and saying, wait a second, but this is contradictory to something else that you said. Then you begin to explain that and go a little further, and then again, back and forth, it's back and forth. This back and forth method of learning ultimately reveals in our seichel, but it reveals something which is not built by seichel. It brings us to see and to recognize something which Seichel would never think of. It's something like it's superimposed on Seichel. Seichel must admit that yes, this is so. Because of the various questions and the various contradictory realities. So Seichel must admit to something. Seichel must admit to something that Seichel itself cannot really grasp, put into perspective. This is where you have the makif element brought down to the lowest level itself, to the creation itself.
And why do we say Ein lo shayches lo'olamas?
Oh. The question is not why do we say it, but what do we mean by Ein shayches lo'olamas? What you mean when you say Ein shayches lo'olamas? I will give a motion for this. We built up an Empire State Building. And it consists, and you build up 130 floors, whatever it is, thousands of little pieces. So you would think, not you would think, it would seem that what is this structure consistent? All the various pieces that are put together in a very smart way and so forth. And this is what enables it to be. But then think about the fact that this huge structure, number one, has to have a ground that supports it. Number two, it has to have the openness to allow it to go. When we look at it in terms of its height, we're not looking at individual bricks that put it together. We're looking straight into the open height that can go indefinitely. And the Empire State Building is barely scratching the surface of that height. It's only a remez, an allusion to that height. So that, although we are spoiled from the structure and so forth clearly, but what it represents is the fact that there is unlimited height that provides for it. This is the joining in of two things, of this limitless height with the finite structure as it is on Earth.
So the unlimitless has a shayches to this Empire State Building. It has a shayches lo'olamas.
That height, there's no shaykhs to it. That height does not consist of any limit. We will tomorrow be able to reach up and up, but there's no limit how far we can go.
So what is meant when he says shaychus loilmus means that it's not made of world material.
No shachas loilmus. No shachas loilmus means that it's not my material. It is not designing, it's creating something in the world.
I'm sorry, what?
It's not describing something in the world. Although it is in the world, but it's not describing something in the world because it originates not in the world.
Even though it really comes down in world.
That's right.
Okay.
This is the big thing of it.